So from there, if we want to progress the exercise, make it a little bit harder, we could add in the element of gravity and increase the element of load, and we can go into a decline push-up. So that's an example there of the regression and progression of a push-up.
From the Transformation Hub. For today's Wednesday workout, we're going to do things a bit differently. We're going to talk about progression, regression, and adaptation.
So the concept of progression, regression, adaptation, what is it and when do we use it? So first of all, progression and regression. That is the concept of changing the exercise if we need to make it a little bit harder or if we need to make it a little bit easier. Adaptation is the concept of when we're limited with our equipment, whether we have an injury or we have some body pain that we need to avoid a body part or use a different piece of equipment based on what we have.
Now we're going to go through some examples of what we mean by progression, regression and adaptation. Okay, so we're going to start with some push-ups, squats and sit-ups.
Okay, so we're going to start with our basic push-up. Everyone knows what a push-up is. This is your standard exercise, and from here we're going to look at what is a progression, what is a regression. So starting off first of all with a couple of reps of our standard push-up. Now if we want to regress this exercise, we want to make it slightly easier. We can come down on our knees and make it a 3/4 press. This reduces some of the weight and load and gravity on the upper body, and now we're lifting the upper body as such, so that's a regression. So from there, if we want to progress the exercise, make it a little bit harder, we can add in the element of gravity and increase the element of load, and we can go into a decline push-up. So that's an example there of the regression and progression of a push-up. The next we'll look at a squat, so a basic body weighted squat, full body movement, and this is your standard movement here. Now if we want to regress this movement, if it's a little bit too hard either to get all the way down on physical load, we can take it to a squat to a chair and sit down and then coming back up. So we've got a moment there of reprieve, we're taking the load off the body and using the bench then to help assist us standing back up, so that's a regression. Now a progression of this movement, we can add in some weight. Of course you can use whatever weight you want, dumbbells, barbells, machine cables, and we're increasing the load there and making that exercise a little bit harder. So that's an example there of progressing or regressing the squat movement. So what we're doing is we're reducing load, increasing gravity, increasing gravity as two elements to progress and regress the movement. So now we're looking at abs, we'll look at crunches. We can do a basic crunch, basic sit-up. You know what that is. Now one way we can regress this movement is to provide some assistance at the feet. So if you slipped your feet underneath a bar or you had a partner supporting you here, that makes the load slightly less and enables the resistance and the anchor point there to sit up slightly easier. We can then progress the movement by adding in a weight, and Jerry's got a little bit of a weight there. We can use a dumbbell, we can use a cable or a band to increase the load, and that's essentially a progression there with increasing the load. So there's an example of 3 body movements, upper body, lower body, abs, as to how we can add in the elements of gravity and added load to make the exercises either harder or easier. Now there's a couple of other elements we can add in, and we can also look at the concept of adaptation. If you've got some body pain or an injury that you're trying to protect or avoid working in that area.
Okay, so now we're going to look at 2 other elements for progression. Okay, and these concepts are balance or stability, and then incorporating 2 movements at once with 1 exercise.
Amazing. So let's first of all look at stability or balance. Let's start off with a lunge. So normal lunge, we'll just make it a bodyweight lunge and up and down as we are. So adding the element of balance or working on stability for progression, we can make it unilateral. So there are a couple of ways we can do this. We can stay as we are on the mat, lift one leg up, and now we're adding in the element of balance. And as you can see, that makes it a lot harder. We can also do it on a bench. So if Jerry rotates 90 degrees and he pops one leg up on the bench, he has support for the leg, but it's still an element of balance. So that's one way to progress to a slightly harder movement. Of course, it's body weight. We can add weights in to increase that another step again harder. And then also on that element to regress it slightly, if it is a little bit too hard, when we come into a lunge movement, we can add in a means to help us balance. So I've just got the foam roller here. Normally we have a pole in the gym you can hold on to help if you're struggling there with balance. But of course, if you're trying to build the balance, start off with bringing your legs into that lunge alignment, which does knock you off balance a little bit, and then gradually move away the balance aids and start trying to increase those balance challenges yourself. So now looking at the double movement. So this, for example, is where we take one movement where before we had the squat, the advanced movement of the squat, we would do with the dumbbells. As he's going down with his legs, he's pulling up with his arms, so there's a double movement there. So it's using your entire body, core, upper body, legs, balance as well. And another example is we're doing a lunge and incorporating our shoulders here as he comes out to the side. So there's an element of incorporating coordination, more limbs working at the same time, and a high load and high demand on the body. So there's another way to progress what otherwise would be a very simple movement if you want to put a bit more demand, a bit more complexity into the workout.
Okay, another concept of progression and regression. If you're coming back from a surgery, you can adapt each exercise by just using a band. Today, what we're going to look at is if you're coming back from shoulder surgery and just using a band. So when you're doing side raises or front raises, perfect just to use a band. Sit down on a bench, put the band down in front of you and just hold it onto your foot and just do some light lifts like this. Obviously, you always listen to your physio and or what your doctor will say. So just light exercises, so just a little bit of resistance here and just slowly pulling up.
So this is a perfect example. It could be a surgery, it could even just be an injury. You've had a little bit of shoulder pain or a mild tear. You're not going to want to go straight back into using a dumbbell. So we'll start off with just an arm movement to the side and rotation. Again, as Joey said, as per your physio's directions. And then once we progress past that, we can be using the band. If you're a little bit uncomfortable, you can of course sit down. Otherwise, if no other part of your body is hindered, you can do it as you normally would, standing up with that resistance there. Not so much to give you direction with your rehab, but to show you a version that you can do as you are modifying the movements if you're coming back from an injury. If you have one leg out of action, you've rolled an ankle, you've got a broken leg, and you're not doing lower body at all, and you're just doing upper body, of course you can sit down there, use your dumbbells and work upper body, abs as well if you want, if you're still able to train but just will needing to avoid a part of your body or a limb. So these are different ways that we can modify movements because of an injury. We can switch to a band from weights or from a machine to weights or from machine to machine or to body weight. If you're in the gym, if someone's on the machine that you plan to use, if you were going to do a horizontal leg press and someone's on that machine, you can switch it up to a hack squat or a Smith machine squat or a bodyweight dumbbell squat. So there's never a reason why we can't try and find an exercise that works for us, whether it's because a machine, a piece of equipment is taken, we were a bit sore somewhere and a little bit injured, even just DOMs from last week we haven't recovered from, or if the exercise that you plan to do is a little bit too difficult, you're a bit fatigued and you want to make it a little bit harder or a little bit easier. So remember those elements that we brought in were increasing load, increasing gravity, working on stability and balance, and double movement, so incorporating lower body and upper body or a flex and a twist at the same time. So different ways there to make the exercises harder, easier, or modify them if there's a reason you need to modify your movements.
Using bands is perfect. So sometimes during the week where you might be feeling less motivated, you couldn't be bothered going to the gym, or you couldn't be bothered sort of going outside, you want to do a band workout, or even if you've got dumbbells at home and you wanted just to do a workout in your garage or in your living room, somewhere easier, just incorporating these small movements and adaptation for your exercises makes it a lot easier to get those endorphins boosted in your body and to get you into the mood of getting back into training. Obviously, depending on whether you're recovering or if you're just feeling exhausted or it's raining outside, you couldn't be bothered going anywhere. It's perfect for that.
We hope this has helped, guys, giving you some ideas as to how to quickly shift in your workout so you don't take any more time than you need to take when you've shorter time in the morning or you just want to be efficient with your training. A few little tips and tricks there for how to get your workouts done to make it customized for exactly what you need. So we hope you've enjoyed these tips here Wednesday workout this week. Next week we're coming back with another full body Wednesday workout. So thanks for tuning in, guys. We look forward to seeing you next week.